You know, I never really said thank you to everybody for all of their views and all that, because this is actually helping me do this video today. So I just want to say thank you. This Sebring that I'm working on today, got my check from YouTube for $137 for my AdSense. Helped me pay for my alternator and a solenoid pack. So we got another shitty Sebring in the garage today that we're going to be working on. It's got a shifting problem just like the last one I have in my transmission problem videos. So we're going one step further. I didn't show anything about a transmission shift solenoid pack replacement. So we're going to cover a bit of that today. And I got a water outlet housing that's leaking too. So let's have a look. One that I wish I didn't have to do, but $11 actually got this shift solenoid pack. I'm not sure what the mileage was. It's looking pretty dirty, but where they are located low down, it kind of captures all the road grime. So pulled this guy out. It's really only the 3 bolts here and the connector with the 1 bolt on top. Now you do damage the gasket when you pull it apart, so you couldn't get them. Actually, I believe you could get them aftermarket, but I ended up getting these through Chrysler dealership. And this was about $7-8 for this gasket. I got 2 just in case this is a shitty one and I have to go back and get a second one. So I am taking my chances. Okay, so we need to gain access to the transmission. Easy way to do it. Start off by removing this air intake guy. 7 or 8 millimeter bolt depending on what year you got. 8 millimeter bolt or a flathead screwdriver. Take this guy off. This just pulls off. And then there's some little pinchy tabs to separate these two. This piece has to come out this way because you got your throttle cables in the way. This just pulls up and out this way. Okay. So you'll want to try and undo that bolt there. That's an 8 millimeter. Your transmission cooler lines are going to be in the way, as well as your speed sensor. You'll want to undo the connector and remove that sensor to be able to get at the 3 bolts to remove the transmission solenoid. As well as you want to inspect your cooler lines, because here by the rad they like to leak. This is actually one style of transmission cooler line, which is just a 3/8 line that runs to and from the transmission, which I think is the smarter design. If you watch my other video on transmission line replacement, you'll notice that I got crimp fittings that I am grinding off to just put lines like this back on. So depending on what style you got, either you just replace the line. This one's actually dripping right over here. I'm just going to cut the line a tiny bit shorter and put more clamps on it, and we're going to call her a day. Just to show you quickly, that's the 3rd bolt that you can't access underneath the speed sensor that you need to get to. Okay, so I've decided to leave the transmission cooler lines on because they're a pain in the ass to pull off without destroying, and I really don't have any lines with me today, and I kind of want to get this car wrapped up back together. I mean, if you want to spend the time and money, definitely replace those lines. Probably a good idea if you're keeping the vehicle. Here is a 1-inch socket that you need to put on that speed sensor to remove it. And they're actually not that tight, so if you don't have a 1-inch socket, they're plastic, so there's not a whole lot of torque on them. Set of vice grips will do. I mean, they're really not that tight. Just don't destroy it when you're pulling it out, when you're grabbing it, because it will damage easy. So now I was able to get all 3 bolts off. You can kind of see them all shiny in the back there. The trick to getting this guy out is get a flathead screwdriver, and you want to pry in between the transmission and the solenoid pack right there. See if I can show you a little bit more. Right there in the corner, you'll be able to get your screwdriver in there and pry it out. Otherwise, you'll be fighting with it all day to try and get it free, because there's a paper gasket in between the 2 that I showed you earlier. And you will destroy it pulling it off, so make sure you got a gasket. Here's my new used shift solenoid pack. There's my old shitty one down there. Now you do want to make sure if you're putting one of these on, there's these alignment pins. If you buy a brand new one, it might have a third one in here. You might have to remove it. This vehicle only takes 2. I verified that on the old pack. So we're ready for installation. It's all nice and clean in there. Hard to see with all these hoses and shit in the way, but let's put her back on. Got her all back together. New housing. Just checking for leaks right now. I didn't go for a ride yet, but it had forward gears and reverse gears, so I must have done something right.